Welcome back to the Taylor Swift Tech Podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm gonna come.
Oh gosh, no.
Over to my friend's house and watched the latest Taylor Swift Tech skit. I couldn't help but... I was dying. I couldn't help but notice that maybe there was some inspiration there. Drew?
We're really going forward with this. Okay.
Drew?
You were dying a month
Yes!
or so ago.
Yes!
That appendicitis or whatever that was.
That was a cool
good.
little... He had the same build-up, and I was like... I was Leo doing the little... I know this one. But it was still funny because it was
This
just
is the
so
weirdest
deadpan.
opening to a podcast ever.
Drew put out... Okay, so... Just so you... I guess... I don't know if Mike is in the know or listeners know, but... We have a very interesting sense of humor. And some people evidently don't like the humor. The skits are boring. The did it, whatever. Which...
Oh, are we going to talk
you
about
know-
that video? That thing was amazing.
Well, that... And just the overall,
Thank you.
like, presentation of things. If people actually... Because this also goes to a bigger, like, even in our own podcast sphere of things, that if people take us so seriously when we're screwing around, it's like, you guys are always just rambling. So I've seen it all. And if you think that, like, we're supposed to be here and be like news anchors, today, live at 11, we find out that Tim Cook has actually throttled the M3 Pro over the M2 Ultra. And if you want to get it's just, that's not our thing. So we poke
We
fun at a
don't
lot
have
of
enough
stuff.
to own a helicopter to fly around Tim Cook's house just to let you know every waking update on his position and what he's doing. But what we can't talk
I know
about...
someone that could make that happen, but
I was about to say, I think we know somebody who can make
No.
that happen. There is someone that can...
this is why
Do
we're not
just that.
going to any events.
This is why we haven't got the invites.
All eyes on Taylor Swift people.
Because
Don't
we know what they've
associate
done
with
in
them.
the past.
Yeah. But no, I thought that unboxings in particular are great to do full-length skits because you can't seriously unbox anything anymore. I just feel like
That video
The
that you
culture's
put out
changed.
was pretty serious. With the sounds, the music, the five
The
different
five
camera
different angles of the lid coming up.
yeah. That's what I was getting at. But, I just felt like, how can I couldn't take myself seriously if I tried to film a genuine unboxing video. Especially for a product that is not a new design. Maybe I could unbox Apple Vision Pro kind of seriously. Be like, I don't know what it's in the box. This is a new category. How do they package it? What does the packaging look like? But this is like an iPhone that has been out for several months, and it looks exactly the same as the last 4 unboxings. So to me, the lazy, boring route would have just been, hey guys, today we're going to be, the alternative was to not do an unboxing video at all. That's what I was weighing in my head. Should I just unbox this myself off camera, just get it all set up, and then we'll do a day 1 impressions video? Or should I do an unboxing video? Because some people somewhat like them, but I tried to take it as kind of a creative challenge of like, okay, if we do unbox something, how do we make it funny? How do we get some kind of entertainment value out of it? Because for some reason people love to... And the real winner, the real reason I knew that the iPhone unboxing at least was a win was I got my wife to laugh about a tech video, which is not easy to do. And she laughed when when I was arguing with myself and putting the plastic back on to tear it off over and over again. And I was like, okay, she's actually laughing. That's good sign. Someone who's not normally into tech videos is now potentially enjoying this. So that was my goal. And that was a very long wait because I actually picked up that iPhone very late at night. I was driving a family member to the San Francisco airport at very, very late at night. and we stopped at the Apple store on the way there. And because I knew I wanted to do some kind of unboxing video, I picked up the phone. And we were rushed, so I had to run through the mall, which was nowhere near the supercharger. And I'm running to the Apple store, get everything sorted out, pick up the box in the bag, and I'm running through the mall. And I'm like, oh man, it kind of looks like I have stolen something. But, you know, even if I get tackled, it would be a good story. So I just ran full speed, iPhone in hand, back to the car.
He straight
And,
up Forrest Gumped it.
Yeah, exactly. That was me running through the mall. And I actually went basically without a phone for like 15 hours, 16 hours.
Wow. Well, both unboxings on your phone and the Mac were hilarious. I love seeing,
Thank you.
You know, Frankie make his appearance, and then Sick Drew just like, I was supposed to get out of here. Just the whole thing. And then for our
That
listeners,
was genuine, by the way. I was seriously sick, and I am still sick.
Oh, I believe you.
I think it's all an act. I think he's just
For-
putting all those cough drops in his mouth just for the act at
Just
this
for
point.
fun. They do taste delicious.
For the listener or
Not a
viewer
sponsor.
here, what's equally as funny is the post notes, the post game review, if you will, that takes place over on Twitter. Drew doesn't stop the crap posting even in the comments part. He goes on Twitter and he says, because given the latest news that we covered on the last week's podcast and stuff, he was with the happy emoji and all. This was filmed on a MacBook Pro camera. I laughed so hard even at that. So, yeah.
Shot
it's
on
I'm
Mac.
glad.
That's the new thing.
Shot on Mac. It was great.
Edited on iPod.
That would be impressive.
I
be
see we both made some within the last 7 days. We have acquired some new hardware in our life.
Ooh. There's that
you guys
natural-
too?
Whoa.
I don't buy anything.
Ooh, nice.
He got a natural tea mug.
He's got a natural team.
Terra mug.
This
That's actually... Never mind. I'm not sarcastic.
that's Aptera.
That was cool.
He is Aptera.
But that's
All right.
Is that natural titanium?
It is natural titanium. And what's very interesting about this,
Matches your walls.
neat. The material matches the if only I had an Ultra. My Apple Card, my Ridge wallet, not sponsored, and my watch if I had one. What's neat about this color though, and anybody who has natural titanium this year, tell me if you agree with this. There's, to me, through my eyes, there's hints of gold on this. There's a hue of gold that's happening through the glass part. So the titanium part really is only just the frame, and even then it's like a certain. It's not full titanium. It's like combined with, I don't know, other stuff, but the only titanium part is the frame. So when we look at this is pure aesthetic, and I'm like, there's a shimmer of gold, which I don't think I can get the 15 camera to pick up on, but it's more like silver, a blend of silver and space gray iPhone 6, I would say.
Isn't this supposed to be silver?
No, that's beautiful
Because
white.
that replaces gold.
That's
Wow.
yeah, I like that one a lot. White is such a good. I feel the transition in myself happening, going from black or space gray to, or space black now. I think I want lighter. After holding on to this and seeing your unboxing of the white, and I don't know, just more of my ecosystem than I thought with like accessories with the mouse or AirPods. Like I got more white than I do even my studio display. I got more white or silver or lighter hues. The only thing that's not lighter hue is my phone and the MacBook Pro. But the whiter, the more aesthetic or the more premium it feels. But this titanium feels almost like like platinum or something. Like it doesn't feel titanium. It gives like a platinum aesthetic to it, which I feel is also a style of premium. It's really weird. Good job on the color choices. I was very hesitant about a boring, like, this would be the equivalent of a Cybertruck color, just, raw color. This looked boring. And I'm like, no, this is pretty cool. So, yeah, this is the Cybertruck of iPhone so far for me.
What I like is that you two got the two colors I'd probably wrestle with myself in choosing to buy if I were to buy a 15 Pro. Is either the titanium or the white. Or the natural titanium and the white.
It was not high on people's lists of preferred color, but all it took was one person, I forget who it was, but I was watching some video and they said, pro tip, if you're trying to decide which iPhone color to get, always get the white because it will dissipate heat better than the others. It'll be less prone to overheating. And I was like, okay, you've attached a function to a color. I'm in. I got it. That's fine. I can get behind it now. Now I can't unhear that.
Well, kind of. It depends. I mean, like if you've got your phone out and you've got the sunlight hitting it, it's just...
That happens for me sometimes.
Okay, if you got your phone just sitting out all the time. I don't think inherently it's sitting in your pocket. It's like, oh, the color of white's definitely going to make it dissipate heat a little bit more.
No. But direct sunlight, yeah. Which does come up sometimes when I'm filming in the car.
Have you experienced overheating or any type of heat dissipation issues with the 15 Pro?
I tried to overload it. I've been abusing this phone into oblivion as much as possible. I set all the settings to 4K, 60 FPS, ProRes, log, plugged it into my external USB-C drive, and I was like, oh crap, how do I charge it when it's writing? So I put MagSafe, which loves to get hot, powering it via the MagSafe puck and recording 4K ProRes log simultaneously. I tried to get it to overheat. I was trying to find the limits. I was like,
I'm calling CPS.
How do I...
Cell Phone Protection Services.
Oh, that works. Wow. That acronym sticks. Well, yeah, you should, because I'm trying to overheat it, and I couldn't do it. So it's possible that I'm not running the same launch day bugs that people had earlier when this was a brand new phone. Maybe now it's out the box running a newer... I forget. I didn't even look at what version it's running, but
right. Because not to jump ahead too much, but your M3 MacBook came with like Ventura preloaded on it instead of Sonoma.
That was very weird, but I've updated it now. Some people said they couldn't even install Sonoma. This is currently running Sonoma, which is nice, but and the silver looks so much better. I regret getting the space gray MacBook every day. And if it weren't for that Apple Card glitch, I definitely would have returned it, ordered it again. But because of that glitch, I was going to miss out on like $160 in the event I switched to silver. And I was like, I'm not willing to pay that much just for a different color. But that one caveat, though, is I have kept this display at 60 hertz.
Okay.
Maybe that's why it's not overheating.
Is that just to help with the smartphone addiction, or just because you got used to your 11 just having 60 hertz, or the Pixel as well? Like, what's the reasoning behind it?
I'm worried that I'll get addicted to ProMotion again.
Okay.
And I don't know if I've mentioned this. Okay. So Randy was the one saying last week or the week before or whatever that y'all never hear anything first. You always have to you get it after the channel members or whatever. So I hear you. I haven't told the channel members this. So I'm telling you guys now as an exclusive.
I'm glad your friends come first.
The friends come first.
Excuse me, you're the one who violated the beginning. Anyways.
But I traded in my iPhone 11. The 11 is gone. So
what? So that makes more sense.
There was
That's why you're
bubbles
saying
on you for a second.
What?
You could have tried to text me in between the point of I ran to the Apple Store as fast as I could. I had a check-in window, and then I had to factory reset the iPhone 11 right there, and I didn't unbox this until the next day. So, because I didn't get home until like 2 a.m. So there was like a 15-hour period.
That's why you're
where
saying you had no phone for 15 hours. Because you got rid of
There was no
the
phone
11.
number. The SIM was out of the 11, and there was no eSIM active yet. So no one could communicate with me if they wanted to. It was quite dangerous and stupid.
Is this your new phone, like, for the foreseeable future?
Yes. And the other reason the plot thickens is I sold my Blackmagic camera.
Wow.
It's no longer here. It's gone.
That's amazing. I mean, congrats, but also that must have been terrifying. Was this something that you were actively trying to sell, or did someone
Drew.
just...
No.
Okay.
Before you go forward, there was a period during the evening time. I attempted to text you, and it said text message, not iMessage, and I ended up not sending it. Huh?
Last Sunday night?
Maybe.
Or
I don't
Monday
remember
morning?
the day. I remember it was during the evening time. I was going to text you. I was texting you something, and it was green bubble. Like, it's a text message.
So you
it
just
wasn't,
didn't even send it.
I didn't even say. I was like, what is he doing right now?
You're like, what's the point?
I was like, I paused. I'm like, no, that doesn't feel right. I'll text the group. It's whenever I also texted the group chat before recording about me not being able to get on Twitter.
Oh.
Which we can dive into later as well.
Sunday.
I really want to know what the heck is going on that end.
Yeah, it was on Sunday because Sunday was when I was venting. Okay, so
That's sus.
then I go to text you because something completely unrelated to anything else. Just Drew and I sometimes just talk about random stuff. So I went to go text you something completely random, and it was green. I was like, I don't know what that's about. I'll wait until it gets blue again. He's probably whatever. I don't know. And then you message me. I see on Facebook, and I saw it today, and I was like, what's going on right now? I know you messaged me actually like a day or two ago, but I checked it today this morning. I was like, what's happening right now? So my first thought before you go even forward, just given what I was looking on when you were posting on your channel, I said he's filming on the iPhone, which he's in the holiday window, so sure, he's filming on the iPhone. I would be doing it too. Well, I'm running my own tests right now, but anyway, that's later. So I was like, he's filming on the iPhone, and I could tell right there he's filming on the iPhone. Then I was like, I got the Blackmagic camera too now. And I was like, how cool would it be if Drew actually got rid of his Blackmagic camera for hardware for Blackmagic camera software? Because it's like the same thing.
Yeah.
And my brain, and I was like, is this, Apple ecosystem collab? And so I was thinking like, there's a possibility, I could see a scenario as a business expense, as a blah, 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 that the iPhone 15 Pro could be an actual dedicated camera, as he's been doing all year anyway, with an SE, with a 10, with the 11, with Pixel. Like, he's already been doing it. It's and no one's complained about fidelity, quality, frame rate, but nobody said nothing about nothing. And if anything, I enjoyed the MacBook shot on MacBook camera, just being Frankie and doing, I was having fun. So all that to say that part of me goes, he's not ballsy enough to get rid of his dedicated camera yet. I don't know why. And now I'm hearing this.
That was it.
So this is the new phone?
Well, let's just say I'm glad I got it during the holiday return window. However, this decision was made before the return window was announced.
Talk me through. Show your math. Show your work.
My math was when was it? I think Friday. Last Friday or Saturday. My friend Ross reached out and was basically saying that, you know, he's doing more and more video gigs for people. And he actually already bought my Blackmagic Ursa Mini, which I used to use, and decided I didn't need anymore. And he's kind of doing more multi-camera setups, and he knows how to manage that. Kind of the line of work he's in is all about live streaming and broadcasting from multiple angles and cutting between them with this advanced software that I don't even understand. It's above my pay grade. But he basically, you know, me and him are close friends. We go way back. So he was like, well, I'm going to need to buy some kind of pocket cinema camera. And he could go and buy one himself, or he could just buy mine, which me and him had talked about maybe doing eventually, because he had seen that I was recording videos on my iPhone and then the Pixel for a while, and I was like, and you know what, it looks great, and I can plug the mic directly into it, and you know, the new iPhones are getting log and all that. So he reached out to me kind of out of the blue, and I wasn't really expecting him to get on board with it so fast, but he was just like, hey, you want to sell your Blackmagic? I'm kind of needing to get one before Sunday or something. It was like in a few days he was going to need it for work, or, you know, his clients or whatever. So I was thinking about it then, and I was like, ooh, I was thinking of reviewing the 15 Pro once the return window started, but perhaps because I'm really worried about hypocrisy, right? With all the flip-flopping I've done. And I really wanted to emphasize that you can get by with less. You don't need the latest and greatest phone. So I struggled and had an issue with switching to a 15 Pro, because I was like, what kind of message does that send? Is that going against everything that I was kind of laying out for this year? And kind of the way my mind was justifying it was, you're not upgrading your phone, you're downgrading your camera. Because the Blackmagic and the lens and all the accessories I included with it, basically, I sold it less than market value, but I still sold it for, you know, something. And basically, I came out ahead. So I actually, by selling the Blackmagic and switching to the 15 Pro, made money. And, you know, downsized my ecosystem, because now, you know, I have to have a phone, obviously. But before I had a phone and a camera. Now I just have phone, camera. It's all in one. And I looked in with Apple on the trade-in program, because it was like iPhone 11 was like $200. And I was looking at eBay and I was looking on Marketplace. And I was like, I'm not going to get much more than that. In the first, I know I usually tell people not to do trade-in, but that one was pretty close. The iPhone 11 battery health was at 80% or something. It was kind of low, and it wasn't in perfect condition. So I was like, yeah, I don't really feel like fussing around with selling this. And the trade-in credit's pretty good. I also had an old Apple gift card someone gave to me like years ago. I want to say like 2 or 3 years back. And I literally just hadn't bought a new Apple product in 2 or 3 years. So I hadn't used it. And I was like, I've been sitting on this for years, and I don't know when I'm going to use it again. And it was kind of time sensitive with Ross, because I knew, like, okay, if I don't sell this to him now, he's just going to have to go buy one, and then I won't be able to sell it to him later. So it was kind of a sudden, spur of the moment decision. And now that I actually have the 15 Pro, I am struggling with whether or not, like, this was the right call. You know, I'm wondering, like, should I have gone with the Pro, or could I have gone with the 15? Is the difference in ProRes and log and the higher transfer speed, is that justified? Like, so I'm glad I got it within the return window, because it means I have till January basically to make a final decision. But the iPhone 11 is now out of the picture. That's not sticking around. And this plan passed the House and the Senate, because she's still happy with her iPhone 10 with the 256 gigs. And I said, you know, do we really want to keep the iPhone 11? And she was like, well, how much storage is on it? I was like, it's only 64 gigs. So she was like, see, I don't even think I want to switch to that if you upgrade in the future, because I want to have more storage. So And I didn't even really choose the iPhone 11. It just kind of fell to me.
It chose you.
It chose me, and I chose to trade it in. So it's kind of done. It was a fine phone. It was great at being a phone. And honestly, I think I could probably film my videos with an older iPhone like that. But it came down to, I guess, the timing of, like, I knew I wanted to review the Pro around this time of year. I could have gotten a 15 or whatever, but that, maybe for content reasons, I couldn't make more of it. And that's why I'm keeping this at 60 hertz, is because I don't want people to think I just bought it because I wanted a better screen or I wanted a better, I did it as a tool decision, not as a entertainment decision. 120 hertz would be the selfish, just like, give me the better this, better that. And of course, I set the charge limit to 80% from day one, never letting this get to full if I can stop it. And so yeah, this is kind of the pickle I'm in. I'm wondering if the Pro is overkill, and that's why I'm curious of Randy's thoughts now that he's had a 15 Pro for a while.
First thing, I was making notes of what you were saying, so I want to kind of hit some bullets. But before I forget, the 80% won't always be 80%. Every now and then it will charge it to 100 still, just to calibrate it.
I'll stop it. If it tries, I'm going to slap it off
through
the charge.
Okay. Unlike you.
I don't sleep.
And because I am filming on my 15 right now, but I got the 15 Pro here.
Oh.
Unlike you, I have ProMotion and always on display and all the things that I can't get out of the 15. I have it here.
Oh, yeah.
Just
always on. I also turned off.
Yeah, I got it on. And I just, me personally, I just like the whole waking up the feature and then looking at the silhouettes of my family. It's
that's cool.
It makes me smile. Yeah. I'm like, that's nice. But
I like that.
I do too. I'm using the same configuration, like layout, as I do on the 15. I'm keeping this one. They're in unison right now about downloads, update, all that stuff. The only difference is because I have always on display turned on, I put widgets on it as well. So I got my car, I got my inbox, and I got my my weather, right? So I purposely was spoiling myself, which is why it's like, unlike you, I was actually going the opposite way because I wanted to see, by spoiling myself, do I really give a darn about it? Because I know I don't. But
interesting.
Like, I wanted to see. So when I do the sideways, if I can get the side, half the time I can't get standby mode to turn on. It has to.
It only works if it. No, if you're holding it, there's like slight accelerometer triggering. Whereas if it's flat, sits on a table, it won't feel as much motion.
No, I'm not. All right, there we go. There we go. Okay, so let me. So I have this as my nightstand the whole night. I've done it every night. I've used the standby or nightstand or whatever it's called, and I have always on for the widgets, and I have ProMotion, and many times I could tell you I will have both my phone, my 15, and the Pro side by side, doing the exact same functions, like with like moving photos or files or something, like videos and stuff like that, and the UI gestures and stuff like that. I don't, in the heat of actually doing the task, I do not notice the frame rate. I don't actually notice it. I'm aware it's smoother, but it's so clean, like that whole loop boop when they connect, when you do AirDrop, it's so clean on both sides. I was purposely doing side by side with the both of them, and I could not tell. I was like, this is cool. I know this one has 120 hertz. Can't tell. I was cool with that. So I know from the 13 Pro, from 13 forward, I knew that, like, I can see the difference, and I've never cared, and I still don't care. I find myself appreciating the always on, but it's like, because right now I have it, now I've unplugged it for the demo. I just have it like this. I just looked off to the side. How often am I actually just, what time is it? What's the weather? I don't actually really, the only time I look at my phone, because of over a decade of conditioning, is when I get a notification. Oh, what's going on? Okay. So as of like right now, I don't find myself actually caring about the always on display. The nightstand mode's cool, but it's very, very gimmicky. I sleep at night when I don't care. It's very gimmicky, so we'll see. But the camera. I knew I was going to care about the camera. I knew I wanted to look into the camera. Randy, the father, cares about indoor lighting, shots, and getting photos, and then that's that. Maybe a quick video, and a point and shoot is all I need. No matter what, I would get by with an iPhone 11 doing the exact same function as long as I had the RAM capacity to capture that moment without it crashing. Right. So I already beat that story to death. So I'm not gonna go any further than that. Randy, the creator, is like, all right, let's see what this log thing's about. Let's see what happens when I use action mode, gimbal, blah blah blah. And so I downloaded the Black Camera app, and I've been filming a lot with it. And I can tell you from experience, importing into Final Cut, and it having a preset to convert your log into its thing anyway.
Apple log. Yeah, that annoyed me. I had to turn that off.
It's so annoying because it's like it just resharpens the image and makes it look like I was so aggravated with it. But
they're in charge of every step of this process, and it's still weird.
It's so weird. But I don't know if it's actually worth my time to get a strong enough read and write speed SSD external to plug in to not worry about filling up my phone because I have a 128 gig 15 Pro for those of you listening or watching. I don't have 256, which means local I'm capped at 30 frames, and I think it was 4K at 30 frames is what I'm capped at. I can't go to 60. I can't go 24 frames. I can only go to 30. Once you plug in an external SSD, then you unlock all the full capabilities of Apple Log, ProRes Log. But
I think the Blackmagic app kind of lets you bypass that, though.
It does, and I've tinkered with it. But if I'm being honest, I am doing more Randy the father stuff more than I'm doing Randy the creator stuff right now. So at this time, I can't actually give a proper assessment about how it works. But the times in between, I would much rather just have the cleanest, brightest image absorbed and captured, which has nothing to do with log, which has nothing to do. I don't want to post-process anything manually. You figure it out, Apple. Just give me a good photo so my family can appreciate it, or give me a good video so I can be, hey, that's pretty neat. I like what, I like capturing slow motion leaves falling right now while we're in the season, and I don't want to go back in later and be like, darn it, I missed the shot because I didn't get it right because it was too flat of an image, and now I can't recreate that shot. Whereas what the point and shoot version of the Apple camera app does for you very well all the time is show you exactly what you're recording when you're recording it. And that's something only the native app does, not the Blackmagic camera does. But I mean, you can have like, oh, show me what it looks like after the LUTs. I've downloaded LUTs, dude. Oh my god, I've never used a LUT in my life. I downloaded LUTs to explore and play with what log will do, and I'm having fun. But I'm competing with a multi-trillion-dollar company trying to beat their processing, trying to beat their software to make my image, the manual controlled image, be better than Apple's without it making it look like shot on an iPhone. And I'm like, well, what am I trying to go for? Is it cinematic? Am I trying to 24 frames and make it all Christopher Nolan? Or am I just trying to capture a good-looking B-roll footage for a music video at some point? The intent does matter about what you need to use that camera for. And all that to say, that's like 90% of what I actually need, I'm getting from the base 15 model for camera. I get the USB-C all the same. I get the audio input, which I will, I'm the audio guy, but I will stand my ground. Audio is always more important than video because audio drives what you're seeing. And you get like, when Drew plugged in his mic, last month and for the 15 and was recording and I could, at that point, I could no longer, like, I know it's a trick with the placebo maybe. I can no longer differentiate a smartphone camera from a dedicated camera because of your mic input. I was like, this is a Talos of Tech video I'm watching, what I've come to know and appreciate. Because maybe I'm not watching you intently like this for the full 11 minutes. Maybe I'm looking over, but hearing you is that's the constant in my life. I have to hear you and hear the information. So the 15 to me today, if I was to give an answer, I think I'd still stick with the 15, but I haven't given it a fair run of its money. I just don't know if we are at that point where for Randy, if a pro iPhone ever needs to be on the table again, because the base models caught up. USB-C really fixed so much. It really did. I know you and I kind of have the same phone mic in the sense of processing chips. And you have some
features.
You have some features that are software locked on me, and then I have some features that you should have access to, but now you can't just because it's the 14. So that's Apple being Apple about stuff. There's no reason why you should have certain things locked on you. But comparing my phone to your phone, the only difference to me is like USB-C. Okay, well, how badly do you need USB-C for accessories is really what it needs. And so for you, Drew, now bringing my whole little thing full circle here, I think your worry or your fear about getting, like, am I sending a wrong message by getting a 15 Pro or a 15 whatever? I don't think that's the right question to ask, because no one, the message you're sending is to people who need smartphones, but they're not full-time YouTubers. This is not their income. This is not their job. They don't film, edit, all that all the time. And you still practiced your ethos of less but better. You minimized one camera for the sake of having something that can technically do the same or better. Bare minimum, it's still less, because now you can at least, you will forever have a on-the-go camera now. It's the same camera. What's more important is that, do you got proper lighting to record your videos? Do you have proper audio to do your narrations? Do you have proper editing software for post-production? Yes. At that point, it's not about the phone. It's about the tool, like you said. So I don't think the question should be, what message am I sending? The question is, am I still is my integrity still in check in regards to having my intentions there? Because the intention is to have your workflow as seamless as possible. And what's more seamless than integrating the Mac to the iPhone while being able to still provide the same product?
Yeah.
And, and you technically made a profit. You sold your camera, have some money in your pocket still. And if it passed the House and the Senate, then gosh darn it, who am I to tell you otherwise anyway?
Her exact words were, "You're good."
Seal of approval right there.
I did not get the seal of approval. Babe, if I get this phone, it's cleaner. It looks platinum. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few things I could explain to show some positivity towards the Pro in favor of it. For example, like log, how you were describing it, of like log versus the default camera capture. I can confidently say, having done experiments with it now, I would do one test recording because I've been coughing so much, I've had a lot of time to be like, I want to test things, but I don't want to talk, and I don't want to like, make a full 10-minute video. But I'm just coughing and sneezing and everything, but I still want to work. So I still need to experiment with things. So I've been like, okay, let me try this lighting setup. Let me try this background. I do one with Log, and then I do one with the native camera app. And far, like 10 times more noticeable is the difference in dynamic range compared to when they introduced ProRes. I remember getting the 13 Pro Max. They said, this is the new ProRes iPhone. And I thought, oh, maybe this is going to finally change that, iPhone look. And I did the back and forth, and I could not tell the difference. It was so insignificant. This is only would notice with pixel peeping. And even then, when you upload to YouTube, it gets compressed anyway. And to me, at least, in side-by-sides, it was far more noticeable. The log shot footage captures light from more spectrum, basically. I don't know if that's the right term, but it grabs more detail. The final result looks all flat. It's the kind of recording that needs to be edited. You can't just record in Log and throw it up there and everyone would go, what the heck, why is it so desaturated? But I have to color correct it very differently than I would normal iPhone footage. And what I particularly noticed with Log was I could get things much darker than the default camera app because of that added range. Like, to me, this is true HDR. Fake HDR, the Dolby Vision is when you just blow the nits out like crazy. That's the stupid lame HDR, in my opinion, is when you're just scrolling through your phone, you open the HDR phone, all the brightness comes out, all this extra nits, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, great, HDR. I hate it when YouTubers upload an HDR because I'm using everything on my MacBook a certain brightness, and I'm watching videos in a certain way, and then it cuts to the HDR YouTuber's video, and then it's like, it blinds me. It's super annoying and very obvious, and I don't even feel like you get much more detail out of it. So in the side-by-sides, it's noticeable, but you could argue, will the audience care? Will the audience notice that? We'll save that for another day, I guess. But the other thing was we were discussing like when I would eventually upgrade anyway. Like how long could the iPhone 11 last me? That was a question I wanted to find out, and Luis was curious about, and of course the audience kept asking about. And I knew that I had kind of decided I definitely wished we had mini phones, and I'm still sad that the minis are gone. If they would have released like a 13 mini with USB-C, I feel like it would have been a guaranteed upgrade for me. I'd be like, yep, thank you. I just wanted a smallish phone with Type-C, and I knew that the Pro, because of the thinner bezels, was a little bit more slimmer than the 15. Not that that's a deal maker per se, but we had talked about potentially saving the upgrade for next year or the year after, because obviously iPhone 11 wasn't going to last forever, and it wasn't going to get iOS updates forever. So I was like, okay, probably need to upgrade in 2 or 3 years anyway. And in 2 or 3 years, all the rumors are pointing to the screens just getting bigger. Next year is the 16 Pro, and the Ultra is going to go up to 6.3 inches and 6.9 inches, and the rumored to add more buttons and what else, capacitive buttons, or everything rumored for next year. I was not particularly excited for. I wasn't looking for a bigger phone. I was kind of hoping to see some resurgence of smaller phones, and it doesn't seem like it's going in that direction. And like you said, we definitely plan on taking more trips, and I'm not going to be able to pack my Blackmagic anyway. So there was an ease of workflow that came from shooting on phones that I discovered both with the Pixel and the iPhone 15, where I was like, this is really nice that I don't have to worry about focusing the camera. It's just that old Blackmagic. It made more sense to have that camera back when I was doing more skits, like Talos of TV skits, not tech skits. And I was doing more freelance work and client work. But now I just kind of accepted that's not really what I'm going to be doing. And most of my work is just me talking to a camera in a room. And that's about it. I just need something that's consistent and reliable and, The other nice thing is the iPhone's battery lives are way better than the Blackmagic. The Blackmagic basically had to be plugged in at all times because it would die in 20 minutes if you tried to go off of battery. Not the case with the iPhone. And I can record just like I did on my Blackmagic with the iPhone straight to an external SSD. Although I've discovered issues if I try to use an adapter to plug in mic input and SSD simultaneously. So,
You want to go into that a little bit more, or is it just still speed bumps that you're trying to work out?
I'm trying to figure out if it's an issue with the adapter or the phone. I can't tell what's to blame.
Okay.
Because my Quack Quack is very old. I've had it for many years, so it's possible that just the transfer speeds it has is not well optimized. But now that I've figured out you can still record 4K at 60 ProRes proxy, which is what I did on my Pocket Cinema, you can do that on the iPhone even with 128 gigs. And you can store it locally. I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll just store it locally and then plug in the microphone to the USB-C port. So by the end result, I have a ProRes log 4K at 60 video with audio already attached. And then the big headache is just getting it on the Mac, which ironically was a little bit easier with the Pixel because Mac is weird when it comes to trying to transfer videos with a wire. AirDrop, you just AirDrop and it shows up in downloads. But with the wire, it's like photos. You want to put it in the Photos app, which means that no one can access it, or Final Cut pulls up the import option, but then when Final Cut opens the import option window, it has to load every photo and video on the entire phone. And you got to scroll all the way to the bottom and say, no, I don't need any of that. I just want the last clip. It's kind of more of a headache than the Android file transfer app, which was funny to me because with the Pixel, I just plug it in, drag the file, move it over. So in terms of file transfer easiness, it's easier to record to an external SSD because then I can just unplug the SSD from the phone, plug it into the Mac, drag the file. It's USB 3. It's fast. So I'm still trying to find the new normal, but I will admit a lot of what kickstarted this whole thought process was the Mac event. Like, the Macs themselves, not that exciting, but seeing Apple, trillion-dollar brand, who has, in my opinion, the best marketing team in the world, shoot an entire presentation on an iPhone, and it was a 15 Pro, definitely made me rethink something. Like, okay, so Apple can do all of that with a phone, yet I'm over here with the Pocket Cinema camera, and my videos are nowhere near and never will be anywhere near what Apple's created. So it was kind of a splash of water in the face of just like, it's not about the camera, it's about how you use it. And I thought maybe that could also be a more valuable lesson to people of like, you just start with your phone. That's enough in terms of cameras, and focus more on audio, like you said. That's going to make or break a lot of people's channels. So
it's crazy to think that 10 words pushed you into buying an iPhone. Like, it wasn't even like...
In a disclaimer at the very end, they pan up from the whole event and there's just a little line of text that totally changed my view. I was like, okay, I kept saying Apple needs a dedicated camera. And as long as they film their own events with different cameras, and then I can't use that argument anymore. It felt like Apple kind of putting their money where their mouth is, and kind of a excuse for me to be more creative. Comparing what the ProRes log footage looked like with my Blackmagic, I still see better depth of field because the lens I had on the Blackmagic had a very, very narrow, so it blurred out my background much more than the iPhone did. But knowing that my friend was interested in buying it and it was time for me to check out a Pro anyway, I was like, this is not
blurring out a background is overrated. That's so silly. It's not. It does not make something more.
I'm not even doing it anymore.
Really.
No, it's
real bokeh.
I'm not saying it's not needed. Like there's a soft blur going on naturally with but what I'm saying is that like if we draw attention to doing the whole bokeh thing, you're drawing attention to literally the subject that's not the attention. Like the thing that's in focus is supposed to have your attention, and that's just filmmaking. Why don't I just film every B-roll blurred and be like, oh, look at this. Hey guys, I just want to show you really quickly.
It's supposed to
look
bring
at that.
attention to the subject, right?
Ta-da!
It's meant to like the only thing in focus is the subject, so it guides your eyes a little bit more naturally. But
when we talk about like the other elements of production, and there's so much more than just the camera that goes into it. They're completely unrelated to tech. This past week, my algorithm got really shifted somehow or another, and now in YouTube, I have been watching almost exclusively Shark Tank, and now
I've been there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that opened up a whole different rabbit hole where the sharks have their own individual YouTube channels that have nothing to do with. I mean, they'll bring on other sharks, but
That's right.
they interview, but it's like they're almost doing like their own podcast or whatever. It's just their own YouTube channel. And
Right.
I was watching one with Mark Cuban, and I think it was either Barbara or it was like Barbara and Lori. Point is, two sharks, and I'm like, oh, let's see what they're talking about. I'm so interested in them talking about behind the scenes stuff and how much do the deals close after the show? How often do they like end up? I just had all this behind the scenes stuff, and they were filming in one of their New York penthouses. Great setup. And they were using the onboard camera that was far away. They're using the onboard camera mic because they didn't have proper audio. And all I heard was, well, Mark, remember that one deal that we went out? And it was just so bad. And it's so echoey and it took me out of the video. So I go to the comments, and everybody was talking about the audio. I was like, this is what I'm talking about. They multi-million-dollar sharks, investors with it, and have a crew. They have a crew with them, helping them film, but they didn't use the right audio. And that was more jarring to me than, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Just filming on your phone and just realizing that, like, oh, this was shot on an iPhone. Like, at this point, there's a certain aesthetic. People stopped caring about filming on an iPhone the moment TikTok and short form content just blew up during the pandemic. You're almost expected to like use a smartphone over a dedicated setup for that type of content. So why not have that? Let's take that a step further and introduce that in long form content. And the only thing that ever held me back was that it's like, if it's good enough for Apple, it's good enough for me. And the moment they announced the iPhone, and they were like, all these lenses from you have 3 lenses, but you have all these different blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, I see what they're doing. I don't agree with what you're saying, but I see this. You're doubling down on your software thing. They will never make a dedicated camera. I understand this now, and I'm on board. I believe you. I believe what you're selling. I believe you believe it. That's how I was looking at Apple. But I was like, until they filmed their own event, and then when they did, the Mac event being an iPhone ad, I was like, okay, I'm for those reasons, I'm out. I'm done. I have nothing left to complain. It's all about the time put into pre-production that helps you in the post, right? So you have to have a good mic.
Isn't it funny that for that event also they used the Blackmagic app? They didn't use the native
That's
iOS
why I
camera
downloaded
app.
the Blackmagic app, to be honest with you.
What an endorsement. Apple's like, these guys got it better than our app.
If they edited on LumaFusion, buy Final Cut in your annual subscription or whatever. Like, it had all that.
Ugh.
Had they endorsed other people, I would have. No, but they did it. They edit okay, first of all, I don't know if you guys watched the behind the scenes. There's different sectors editing different parts. So it's a true production team. But they used Adobe for like color correction. They were using DaVinci. They were using anything but Final Cut on a Mac. And I was like, whoa, okay. Should I reconsider? Well, unless they start bricking Final Cut, no, I'm going to stay on Final Cut. But the fact that we see other people, using it, and other YouTubers who are aware of those softwares pointing them out, because I would have not known. I just knew that wasn't Final Cut. And they're like, oh, that's Adobe. And Apple's like, yeah, hey, whatever. At this point, it's like Apple's not trying to sell their applications. They're selling the iPhone.
Especially Final Cut for Mac. They do not make much money on that. It's a one-time purchase, lifetime license. It's a horrible deal for them. They don't bring in much money from that, so
yeah,
I get why they don't care as much. But yeah, I guess the question in my head is just like, is that price gap worth it? Because I know I don't want to go back to a Lightning iPhone. I knew there was that big hurdle of Type-C I wanted to get over. I knew I wasn't going to buy another Lightning iPhone, and I know I can record videos with the iPhone 15, but I will admit that Apple event they shot, I really don't think it would have looked quite as good, or it wouldn't have been able to fool as many people if they had shot it on a regular 15. Or I should just say without log, regardless of which phone they used. If it was not a log recording, especially with all those black backdrops, the background looking deeper black is by far the biggest difference I noticed between ProRes log versus default stock. And I don't know if that's something that needs to be a huge priority for me or not.
No, your background's
it had nothing
white.
to do with the telephoto.
You have decor in your background, and it's a shallow depth of field for you. It's not far in the distance, and you're not filming outside. So you gotta. Your lighting is completely synthetic. You have more control over your environment than Apple manipulating the nighttime shots to look more dark than what it needs to with all those, you got key lighting and filter, and you had all that other light to manipulate it. But I hear what you're saying. I agree with you. First of all, I agree with you. But two totally different production approaches. You're working in a smaller frame. Yours is strictly manipulation of the light. You get your light down and your audio, obviously. You get those two down. I don't think it really matters all that much, to be honest with you. I think you are an informative channel. You give your perspective on something. You don't introduce things. You don't have to be like, here, unless you're trolling a comment because they said these unboxings aren't getting. Unless you're doing that, your content is that of information analysis and dissecting the information, and what does that really translate to in a more common practical use. Not look at our graphs, and the M3 Ultra now will do this when that launches later
with panning shots and all that.
Yeah, it's different. But I do agree with you.
I think this purchase was definitely vilified, or at least maybe not verified, but I think it was a good one to go with. Maybe not vilified, I'm not too sure. But what I'm getting at is that I think it was a good idea to go forward with this, and it was kind of the logical approach for your situation, where basically you had the option to get rid of some hardware that you're already thinking about getting rid of. And yeah, it kind of goes against your whole idea and ethos and your statements online saying you want to stick with an iPhone as long as you can. But already, you kind of violated that technically multiple times by upgrading/downgrading so many times to where you ended up with the 11. And already, even so, when the 15 came out, you're like, finally, USB-C's here. Maybe I'll upgrade to that at some point. It only made sense once lightning struck with the Black Magic basically having an option to see its way out the door. and also you being able to upgrade to something that would simplify your filming and also just process of all of it, streamlining it, and not having to deal with having to plug in the Blackmagic and then also stow it away, walk around it all the time when you're in that room and all that. It seemed like a logical approach just from living with it. Like this giant piece of technology that at first was a great utility for what you're doing, but now it's kind of just this maybe not archaic, but it's a bit of tech that isn't necessary anymore. So it still follows that ethos of less but more. And along with that, you already had the idea of upgrading to the 15 eventually. It's just already like we've had this wonderful domino effect in the past year of you being like, I'm not going to upgrade. Oops, I upgraded. I'm not going to upgrade. I kind of upgraded as more like a
You're
side
a hypocrite
grade,
is what he's saying.
No, I guess what I'm saying is like already you had this train going on, and just because you got the newest, best, and greatest iPhone that's on the market doesn't mean that you are giving up in that mission. In fact, I think it only sets you up for success for the future because you've gotten the newest and best and probably the most hardy iPhone that's on the market, and you're going to keep it for a long time because you already have the idea that it's going to be your camera rig. It is your all-in-one device. And yeah, it's a bummer that it has 120 hertz ProMotion and all that. What a terrible situation where you can obviously, like you've done, switch it off to 60 hertz. But the fact that you can do all this other stuff with it for your business, for your job, for what you love doing, and then you don't have to buy extra stuff for the other stuff that isn't a part of your business. It's a big win in general. And like what Randy highlighted as well. Hi, Brandy. She's a fine girl, by the way.
Thank you.
I totally just derailed myself there. What Randy also highlighted is that it was a win financially and also a win spatially and also just in general as a win. You got the newest phone. You didn't have to like spend extra money for it. And you have more room in your room to live with. And it just simplifies everything so much more. So you're inclined to feel how you feel, but in my observation of the situation, I don't think you need to have that much guilt towards it. Is that this is just what happened. And thank goodness there was an easy solution that you could go through with, and you didn't have to make any sacrifices necessarily, especially with how you want to live your life with this essential and efficient mindset.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess what I've proven this year is I'm not very good at keeping phones. I think that's the
or
takeaway.
promises.
No, and that's, I guess, the real question, because I take a step back for a moment and I was like, all right, I downgraded to the iPhone 10 in like January. It's November and I'm on a 15 Pro. So it's like,
He relapsed harder.
Did I relapse? You know, what went on there? And I guess the one point that I did try to make throughout this iPhone generation that hopefully people remembered is I'm not going to commit to anything long term. I'm not going to say like,
you might want to let Louise know later, but
with technology, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Not like this. I will keep my SIM in this phone for 5 years. You know, I'm not going to do that, because you just don't know what you don't know. You don't understand what circumstances, what scenarios might come up. And maybe the iPhone 15 has something that I don't realize is going to make a big impact. And maybe that's log and I didn't know it. And it took some waiting and some experimenting and some Apple marketing to actually sway me in that direction. But yeah, I don't think we need to just settle and make those kind of long-term decisions with technology, because technology always is changing so quick.
The most important question, though, Drew, actually really the only important thing that matters out all this that anybody needs to know is, what did you map your action button to?
Well, because I
Show
kept
me.
asking Apple to make a dedicated camera, and this is apparently it. Mine goes to the camera, specifically
Excellent
video
choice.
mode.
Video mode. Mine goes to video mode. Oh, it's photo. It should be video.
Photo.
Oops. Oh no! Wait! It is
Photo
photo
mode is
because
more
I try to
appropriate
capture
for you.
my son doing. Anyway, yeah. No, that's right. Yeah. Never mind.
Mine goes
It's still
to
early. Yeah.
an iPad screen.
Drew.
I was gonna say, is it?
Do you miss doing this though?
I started trying macros again, and I was like, oh yeah, this is stupid.
It is.
This is cool.
It is dumb.
But it's really stupid. Yeah, like, how did Randy phrase it once? He said, I've never been in a situation where I needed macro. That's never come up. Quick, does anyone have a macro camera at this moment? You know,
I
it's
can't
cool.
use your 12 mini because I need macro. And so I need a 13 Pro or newer in the Pro generation.
He needs this now for this very specific leaf that he found on the ground.
Yeah, you sound like Frankie. Maybe my brother's Frankie, yours is Brandy, apparently. And Brandy needs macro.
Okay. We'll do a podcast next week or so with our brothers instead, and
We try to out bouge each other. We try to express our riches as best as.
I do have to say something that is very hyper specific for my current situation in life, but one I found very useful. Before I got my hands on this phone, I had to carry with me a 13 Pro Max, my 13 Pro Max that I had with me for one very specific tool, and now I don't need to because I got this one in the proper form factor here. I actually find myself, I take back all negative things I have ever said about the utility, the use case of LiDAR. LiDAR is the most... Hang on.
What?
It saved me some... I could have made some...
You need to know the
wrong-
exact distance between his fingers for a specific measurement that he needed for
yeah.
his lamps.
Where is that app?
I needed LiDAR. I used my 15, just base 15, to take measurements, and it was close. But even then, it can't accurately on the Measure app like change the lock in place when I like am panning from one to the other. It can't just like auto draw the line to keep me from like losing distance of it. It just follows whatever line I'm doing with it. Whereas with LiDAR, it auto locks it, so it gives you a more precise measurement. I'll give you a very, very specific example that was my example. Putting in a ceiling fan matters what the height of your ceilings are. And because I don't even think, when you put a fan, like it has, how much do you need? One that goes this long, one that goes, this short, because it's based off of whatever the height
Or
of your
flush
ceilings
with
are.
the ceiling as well.
Yes. And I did not know what my current measurements are. I have a different measurement of ceiling from my second floor to my first floor to a potential another new floor. And all these measurements were kind of...
What a rich problem.
It is, no, especially because I'm
many
getting like
floors are you
high
living?
ceilings. Yeah, I'm getting vaulted. But, it's not my fault it's cathedral-like. You walk in and it's just up there. I'm like, wow. Can I put a fan up there?
Randy bought the Sistine Chapel.
We play the cards we're dealt,
Hey, man, look.
I got to work with what I have, and that's Cathedral.
Listen, it's not my fault that... You know what? No, I'm going to be a good boy today. I was going to make Drew work for his edits tonight, but I'm not going to do that. No, I changed my mind. I'm not going to do it.
Well, it's easy in my house. The answer is just no for ceiling fans, because I like to stand up sometimes.
Do you have 7-foot ceilings? Like, is that the size?
Drew's are definitely like 3-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
You could touch the ceiling?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Easily.
I could cartwheel in there and touch it with my feet.
Jumping. Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel claustrophobic about that, by the way? Does that ever make you feel weird?
Surprisingly, no. I've actually... What's it called? I'm claustrophilic. I enjoy small, cramped... I like getting bundled up. That's why I drive a Model 3.
That makes sense. It all makes sense now.
It all makes sense.
No wonder he loves it.
Anyway, LiDAR...
The opposite.
LiDAR works very well with doing quicker like night mode shots when it switches over to that that mode. It does good with my measuring of the distance. It's more accurate, I found, with auto locking. Not lock but like just what I needed to go onto. I ran a test. I opened up one of the cameras and I have a baby monitor camera in my son's room. And so I went up to the camera and I did one of the little things like this. And I see this little sucker just like blinking as well, trying to, it's taking its measurements. I was like, oh, this does a lot more than I thought. It's very passive in the background, but it's working, I think, on every shot you take. I think video as well. Maybe not. Definitely camera, like for photos, but I think video as well.
It's doing all this, or it isn't,
or it isn't.
Cool.
But I like to think it does. It makes me feel good about myself. I'm just grateful that I was able to get precise measurements because I have a again. I know Drew's gonna mock me up, but whatever. I have quite frankly, I have a really big TV. It's the biggest TV. I've never seen TVs made this big ever. Okay, folks, and I did.
It's a big TV.
It's
almost
huge.
as big as my hand.
It's huge, and there's no problems there, folks. Believe me. We got huge TVs, and we got huge hands, and egos, and China, and I needed to know a measurement for the TV if it was gonna fit if I was to move the TV somewhere else, and LiDAR helped me. So, thank you, Apple.
Good for you. Okay.
You know what I just do? I just get tape measure and I just measure the TV. But that's me and my archaic tools, I guess.
That's tree waste. We're green in this house.
A measuring tape?
Spencer would be so mad at you.
That I already owned?
I don't have one.
There's metal and paint in that caused emissions.
So does you buying a new phone.
No, it's got the little leaf icon on the side, so it's carbon neutral. Every iPhone you buy puts
Aptera.
Every iPhone you buy puts 3 seals in the ocean.
Is Apple just hoarding seals underneath Apple Park?
Yeah,
and then whenever someone buys an iPhone, they let them loose in the bay.
Let them go. Yeah, exactly. It's great for the environment.
You buy our stuff for Mother Nature before she comes back. You do it.
Isn't that where this is headed if we start going carbon negative? Like,
it pays us.
Then it becomes buy our product or you hate the environment?
If you don't buy our products, you're a commie. Yeah.
That's on the head. That's on the front page.
You're un-American.
Well, I guess on the iPhone subject, if we're bringing that to a close, Mike's probably the only consistent one through this whole experience. It's just like, I got my phone, I'm done now. The rest of us are like, what do we do? What do we get? What do we try? And
I'm honestly, consistently inconsistent.
That's
got a point.
What did they say? Into the Spider-Verse? I don't believe in consistency.
Yes.
It says something like that.
Yeah.
Should we just shut up then on the whole are we upgrading question? Should we just say, I have no idea. Ask me when it's time.
I just assume that you guys are always going to buy
now.
the new iPhone just to look at it and review it, since you both are very interested in what Apple's got in the next generation. Even if you don't plan on keeping it, I still think
I will
both of
always
you...
review products, but keeping,
Yes.
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty disciplined about not keeping them, but
If they turn off the return policy on my account, I might slow down.
I'll just go through
Or
Amazon.
just open a new account. Yeah, that too.
Use my wife's account now. But I feel like, that being said, I still don't see why I would upgrade from this point on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see.
I'm saying let's not dig our own grave.
Let's calibrate our watches here, Randy. It's looking like probably a forecast of 3 months until...
Here's the... Actually, you're right. It's been very consistent throughout the year. Every 90 days is about when I switch phones. So we'll see where I am in another 90 days. But here's a few reasons.
He has a new addiction, Mike. It's no longer promotion. It's just every 3 months. He's going to be like, it's been about 3 months. I think I need to try something. I need to put my SIM card in something.
The Pixel 6 Pro is probably going to accomplish this better than my 15 Pro. Let's try it out.
New
Just in
Samsung
case.
Galaxy S24 now does 150 on optical plus another.
You know, I need a little viewfinder for when I
has a
take these
micro
videos. So
macro.
I got the Google Fold for this purpose. That way I can see what I look like while I'm doing this video and all that.
Ah.
And
That's
then
what's
when
gonna
don't even talk about Vision Pro when it comes out next year. Then he's gonna buy that. He has to try other phones to see what pairs with that. And it's just, it's a mess.
Hi, everyone. Just his eyesight image. Just hello.
Here's how I'll dig my own grave, because you're both very right. But to dig my own grave, I was able to justify this by selling my old dedicated camera. I won't be able to do that again. I'm not buying a dedicated camera. I don't have another dedicated camera.
Just sell that phone and then you get a new phone, because you have to justify that
wouldn't
you
cover
have to have a new phone. That's why you get a cheaper phone.
Blackmagic profit.
You're at the peak right now, Drew. You've got one of the most expensive phones on. Well, I mean, there's probably more expensive phones on the market.
This is the base. I specifically chose the worst 15 Pro. Okay, that's how cheap I am. This is the worst of the best. That's this tier. I didn't go with the Max.
Me too.
To be fair, if they made a 5.4-inch LCD, 60 hertz, no notch, no dynamic island, no ultra wide, no telephoto, no OLED, no ProMotion, but this exact same main sensor that could do ProRes log,
That's the only one that matters.
I would buy that.
Sounds like the
I would
most
buy the single
unlikely
camera.
product announcement.
Drew's
from
going
Apple.
to be buying the SE4 in March. I guarantee that's happening.
Ooh, yeah, probably.
I guarantee.
SE4 does sound good, but I don't know if
A
I wanna
USB-C
convince- ugh.
SE4 with potentially an A17, even an A16 chip. This A16 chip is more than capable. It has all that headspace. You're gonna buy it.
I'll definitely review it. How about that? Can we agree there?
Okay, we can agree to that. Yeah.
Well, that's always assumed.
I think it will be the best SE ever.
The best SE since
Really?
SE.
That sounds like a good Apple marketing headline, but that's where I'm currently at, is that it would be hard to justify switching at this point. I wouldn't be able to use the same, arguments that I did for this. But I've dug my own grave. Let's see if I die now. We'll find out.
Jeez. I guess my last question for both of you is, how has the titanium felt in the hand versus just in images, and comparing it to the steel and the aluminum?
Thank you, Mike. That's a great question. I forgot to talk about that. I hate it. Aluminum's better.
That's what I was going to say.
Aluminum's better. It's lighter. It's still
Wow.
it's the lightest. I don't worry. Aluminum 10 out of 10.
Wow, Randy took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, even on this, I heard people say that on the lighter tones, the fingerprints weren't as obvious.
True.
And they're wrong.
Wow.
No, I mean, there's still some. They're not as obvious as the darker colored titanium, but I still definitely notice fingerprints on the. It's like a glossy titanium, and it feels smoother than the aluminum. I feel the aluminum feels a little rougher, just a
grippier.
tiny bit more grippy. But yeah, the aluminum, you're right. It's lighter, doesn't show hardly any fingerprints,
No.
and
Beautiful.
it's grippier. So yeah, I still wish they would have made this aluminum, but I will acknowledge that it looks a bit more, for me at least. I don't know if it's the same with natural titanium, but I can see the individual lines more obviously than on the Apple Watch Ultra, which was titanium, and the Apple Watch Edition before that, they kind of showed the titanium edges as having all these little grooves. And then I got it in person, and I was like, I do not see those little grooves. It just looks like aluminum. These, I can kind of see it a bit more.
You have to really try to see it, but to be honest, it looks more like muted, or maybe matte would be the right word, over satin. It's satin. That's
Yeah.
the way I would describe it. In texture.
An improvement over steel, in my opinion.
Yes.
Much better than the steel, but not as good as aluminum, for sure.
This phone is technically smaller than the 15 regular, but
Little bit.
yeah, just a little bit, because, and I have done a side by side to it, and I'm like, oh, there it is. Yeah, I can see it. But the 15 regular is still more comfortable to hold, and I think it's because of the side textures of it. The back feels
The
like
15 is lighter as well.
This feels just like the back of your 14 Pro, Mike. It's one for one, but the back on the 15 with that new glass, whatever, the whole phone just feels grippier for the 15 on all sides, and I have not been in a hurry to put a case on it for that reason. So for that reason, I'm out.
Well, that's good to know, knowing that my wife is going to be picking one up likely in the next week or so.
Hey,
Oh,
nice.
there you
Yeah.
go. That's
It only
exciting.
took us that long. Only because the 12 is actually starting to be an issue, where it's not charging anymore
Really?
on the MagSafe, and
Oh, no.
not wanting to receive inputs by a finger or anything else. She's having to power it off and turn it back on multiple times throughout the week just to try to get it to work. It's
What
having a bad
color is
time.
she gonna
Jeez.
get?
She's probably gonna get the pink, honestly.
But she says she
Good
likes
call.
to mix it up every upgrade, and 12 red, it was pink. So
Well, we'll see.
salmon.
We still have 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit different. It's more pink than salmon here, but it's probably gonna be
They all
something
look great.
around.
I don't know if you've seen them in person yet, Mike, but in my opinion, I actually like all the colors of the 15 this year. I don't regret getting
When I
black
was in-
because
I was gonna say, when I was in Vegas, I got to compare 2 blue iPhone 15s, or the 15 and the 15 Pro, and that was very much just these are both blue.
right,
This one's
I
white
loved
and this
blue
one's black.
because it was white. Yeah. I wanted a white iPhone. It
was a cooler
and I
white.
got one. It was just, they happened to call it blue for some
Yeah.
reason. Also, first impressions, it's only been a few days. Action button,
Eh.
like slightly better than the ringer switch. I'd rather have an action button than a ringer switch, but I'd also rather have neither. Still prefer the
I like clicking it
no extra.
and not doing anything. But I currently, as of we are filming on the 8th, I have my other rabbit hole besides Shark Tank has been the coolest shortcut mappable process I can come up with, to see if I can come up with something that's more. How cool would it be, since Drew is making fun of my my privilege here? every time I click the button, I buy an Apple stock or something. Like, how cool of a program would that have been? So,
Yeah, my brother has that one. It's cool.
perfect.
I think for 3-nanometer architecture, A17 Pro and everything, the camera should launch a little bit faster.
I agree.
Right.
Kind of
Needs to be a little
I
bit
agree.
action
quicker.
button. Here, what? 3, 2, 1.
Wow.
I
pretty
mean,
quick.
okay, it's
That was
pretty
pretty quick.
fast, but
That was pretty quick.
It's on
Should
par
be-
with tapping the screen or raising the phone to wake up the screen and then holding the camera button or swiping to the right or left to right. No, right to
I
left.
now have 3 different ways to activate the camera. From
I guess then maybe my last question to try to close this out. Is it a better way to access the camera than the screen?
Swipe. Swipe.
no,
I'm a swipe guy. Just swipe it.
Okay.
I don't think. I think they're trying to come up with things to just list advantages over. Here's the Pro has this. The Pro has action button. You know, it's. I don't use it.
Action
much. I
button
haven't
becomes
run into
valuable the
circumstances.
moment iOS 18 takes away the swipe to the camera, because that's the quickest way to get there. But I don't know. I
Or the button.
honestly, action
On the
button,
bottom right.
just like on the Apple Watch, is gimmicky, but it is mappable, and I just need to figure out what the cool. But like open up the black camera mat, but I don't use that. I use the regular default camera for photos, so it's quite boring. But I kind of just like clicking it, and Drew, map the click to hold it, and that's your power off button. Done.
So you have two power off buttons.
No, because the other way is you have to hold two buttons. I just want to hold one just to do a shutdown.
Oh, a
Perfect.
hard shutdown.
A hard
see.
shutdown. A hard shutdown.
Huh.
Yeah. I like
I don't
that
do
one.
that very much, honestly.
I think a fun mode would be to map it to the Tesla to summon backwards. So then you're just holding one button and that's it. You don't have to go through all these menus.
You know, I've seen people showcase how you could do it with the Tesla, but what I'm worried about is I'm clicking these things all the time if I'm adjusting volume. And if I'm adjusting volume and I accidentally press the action button, I don't want to start backing up my car. You know, like, it's the kind of button that you need to be prepared for an accidental click. So, okay, I accidentally launched the camera app versus I accidentally preheated the car or, you know, did something with the car. I opened the frunk. You know, I don't want to accidentally do something like that, especially if I'm out of the country or something. So
Right.
I'd be fine if they removed it. I'm confused why it sounds like next year they're doubling down and they're going to have 2 action buttons or something. One's going to be a camera button and one's a remappable button. And I'm like, ugh.
2 camera buttons.
I can
What is this,
tell
a
you-
BlackBerry?
That's funny. I could tell you just from my own use case, when I do use the zoom, I don't use the 3x zoom. I kind of miss my 15 regular just because 2x is more than enough, and I don't really.
It's still there.
The only thing that I give kudos to this is because it is a larger sensor, and the ultra wide too. The ultra wide gives you like it does focus, which I appreciate because the 15 base does not have a focus. It's locked in. I like that I can focus with ultra wide, but ultra wide 10 out of 10 is I'm doing a scenic shot. I don't need a focus for scenic shot. It's already taken in all that. So that's why I'm like, I do miss that phone, but I appreciate the utility of it all being there. LiDAR included. Thank you, Apple. But no, I think the
agree.
15
3X
base
has not come up.
No. 15 base got it just right for doing that, zoom without losing any fidelity of the image. And
Sensor zoom. That's what it should be called.
yes,
Not,
I agree.
Not quite digital zoom, not quite optical zoom, but it is.
Sensor zoom. Yeah.
Well, talking about the love for base products, how's the M3? To switch gears.
Oh. I mean, honestly, I would love to tell you about it, but it's still quite early. I've done very little with it at this stage, so that's for another day. I wish I could say much. I've run some Geekbench tests, and I've got all of my third-party software and first-party software I need installed, but I haven't like sat down and edited a video on it yet. We'll get there, but
So you're not. Well, I guess that makes sense because you showed it earlier in the podcast that you're not using it for the podcast right now.
He's not keeping it.
no, I'm not. This is definitely not keeping. And it's the 8 gigs of RAM doesn't bother me all that much. I'll tell you my biggest deal breaker with this machine right there.
It has ports on the side that you don't like.
It doesn't have a USB-C. It doesn't have Thunderbolt right there.
Yeah, there's no third USB-C port.
Do you need
there's
that
only
third
2.
USB? Oh, because you want to charge on the right side sometimes, or most of the time.
I am using the right side USB-C right now, Thunderbolt for
Me
power
too.
this.
I'm powering my MacBook right now via the
That's
right.
a deal
I don't
breaker.
know what it is. It's a weird universe thing for me, but everywhere I went on vacation, I didn't have the USB-C cable. I just had the MagSafe, and I kept running into situations where I needed to charge from the right, and I had to stretch that cord over to the left side. Drove me nuts. So,
Drew, because I'm always so right on EV and timelines and things, and you know, I'm always right. I like to tell you when you're right, and I owe you an apology because I remember distinctively fighting you on this about just use the MagSafe on the left. It's not a big deal. You're just whining to whine. You want to complain about something, blah, blah. You're nitpicking at this point. Don't worry about blah, blah, blah. I have exclusively used Thunderbolt on the right side since I got my studio display. and I can't not give up that side of the laptop now. And you were right.
it's helpful.
We need to have on both sides so you can at least choose, because this is my setup, and it will be my setup for years and years and years. So I need to have the simplicity of not, you know, it's right there. You plug and play.
That's just what I grew up with, honestly. My first MacBook I ever bought was in 2016, and that had two Type-C ports on both sides. So I was just used to charging left and right, left and right. I never had MagSafe. I always thought MagSafe was kind of overrated. So now when I got this one and they brought it back and it's kind of legacy and all that, I was like, what? I can only charge on one side? What the heck?
I love MagSafe. I'm that old. I remember MagSafe. But with the studio display, you just don't need it. If I didn't have the studio display, I would be MagSafing it up all the time. But in this sense,
True. Kind of a single-use port.
Yeah, I love it. So you were right. Just want you to know.
This has reminded me, though, how much I regret not getting silver.
My goodness. How many times is he going to mention in the podcast?
At least 2
so
more.
much better. This is so clean. I love this.
It's okay to be wrong. So he doesn't like black bezels, but he likes black bezels, but not black MacBooks. He'd rather have a white Mac, but heaven forbid the iMac has any white that you make no sense, Drew.
It's just very simple. This, when it's off, doesn't change colors.
He's not wrong. The whole computer does not
does
change to a shade of purple for some reason.
It should.
That's right. But yeah, I think it'll do fine. I think 8 gigs of RAM is fine, and I'm going to show them in videos how capable and how fast it can be, and they'll still say, yeah, but it should be 16 though.
Do you plan on editing both podcasts on it?
Oh, yeah, I guess I could do that. I didn't think about that. I should.
I mean, it's
also,
a decent test just to prove that it's at least equivalent to what my rig is, and or better, hopefully.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it can handle that. To me, it's not a super intensive task, but
I think you did some Geekbench testing, didn't you, recently?
yes, Geekbench looked kind of how I expected. Single core was faster than M1, multi-core almost as fast. GPU test was way faster on the Macs, but yeah, I don't know why people care about those scores so much, but they do, so I do them. I'm like, okay, here's the numbers, but it doesn't really mean any real world changes. It's like I'm more interested in how it performs in like real life. The testing is kind of artificial and made up. I want to edit some videos on it and then compare the export times and if there's any hang-ups. And I think that the main takeaway will be that you should probably just buy an old M1 Pro. That's going to be the better deal at the end of the day. 16 gigs of RAM, the extra USB-C port. The M1 Pro chip is probably still very fast for today, but also this has reminded me I do not want a 14-inch. I've gotten so used to
you've always wanted something big. I think at one point you were saying you want like
MacBook.
an 18-inch MacBook, which is insane, in my opinion. That's a really big laptop.
To me, the 16-inch is still small because I came from the iMac Pro. And then when I use a 14-inch, I'm like, oh my God. It just makes me surprised people want something lighter than this. To me, this is still a very compact, lightweight Mac.
We want to go back to 2015 Apple, where they obsessed with weight.
Yeah, the 12-inch MacBook is, the lightest ever. But the M2 Air or the 15-inch Air, I don't think it's much of a weight argument anymore. They're all kind of similar size, similar weight. It's just like feature-wise, what are you looking for? But yeah, it's my first time with extended use of a 14-inch MacBook Pro, and I'm reminded, not downgrading. Sorry, that's not happening. It'd be cool though if the M3 can export videos faster. We'll see, but that would be neat. I'd be impressed. To
wrap up our thing here, Mike asked me a question at the beginning, and I didn't forget. I guess save it till the end. What do you want to know in regards to? I have been locked out of Twitter, and I can't.
I'm glad you remembered.
I put it on my note
as well.
I wanted to answer your question, and anyway, what is it that you want to know specifically about that? Is it how, why, where, what?
It seems like you and Drew are just having such bad luck with your social media accounts
Discord?
getting locked out. Drew with Discord, you with Twitter. God forbid I get locked out of Instagram because I upload a ton of photos there, and I don't want to lose access to those.
Yeah, and the kicker is, I tried to log in over the last couple of days, and I already got billed for the premium Twitter or whatever again. So I'm like, there goes another $8 because I can't get into... You
get what you paid for, Randy.
Oh, no! That happened.
My God.
I got charged another $8 because I can't get into to cancel.
Can you back charge that?
I don't know. This is
You should try.
Who's he going to contact,
genuinely
Drew?
Curious.
Who's he going to talk to?
No,
Everyone's been fired.
On the credit... Who is it on your Apple Card?
I hope so. Yes it is.
Can't you just go to the charge and say, like, cancel or dispute?
I didn't do this. It wasn't me. It was someone else.
Report an issue. Yeah, I think that's genuine. I can't access my account. They won't let me cancel the membership.
Yeah.
They would understand.
And no matter what I've done, I'm prompted with this. And you haven't asked, so I assume that we have... It goes without saying,
Did
but
you put
just
in your
so
password?
anyone not supposed to say... Huh?
It said put in your password. Have you tried that?
And
I don't think he has yet.
Now he asked. Not only can I not reset the password, I can't do any of it.
How'd you get locked down in the first place? Was it just one day where you opened the Twitter app and it just gave you please log in? Or
yeah, more or less. I don't know. I hit ignore, right? And so I get prompted with this like can't load. When I go to the side profile over here and I'm like, maybe I'll just add another account. When I go to add another account, it brings me right back to this.
Confirm your identity or else.
Yeah. So even if I go to add an account in the corner for like if I wanted to have another Twitter account, it locks in create new. God.
Why is it telling you to create new when you already have an account?
Oh no, but or sign
I
to an
think I
existing
know what
or create.
this is.
Help me.
You got to turn it off and on. You have to delete the app because did you restore this from a backup?
Yes.
I had the same issue on the 15 Pro. Twitter wasn't working until when I restored it from backup. If I deleted the app and reinstalled it and then logged in.
Wow.
I think it worked.
Okay.
Well, Wow.
Let's find.
So
let's
IT
find out.
101 was just pitched here on the Taylors of Tech podcast. Have you turned it off and on again? Or have you uninstalled and
Hundreds of
reinstalled it
dollars.
again?
I saved Randy so much money just now.
I already
I want to see
was
if this
charged
You didn't save
for
him any.
another.
Well, I
could have saved
explained
him
to him
by
how to
last week.
cancel that charge.
Oh, yeah.
I also
probably.
want to know what happens to your verification if you backcharge them. What does Twitter do?
That's funny.
They're like,
They'll catch up with you in a couple months once they figured out that he individually said, nah, I'm going to have premium and not pay for it.
Okay,
whatever
so
it is now.
I just
Blue.
reinstalled the
Blue
app.
Plus.
how do I get Grok?
We don't say that name here.
We don't say that. We don't talk about Grok.
Drew,
What?
it worked.
Yes!
Drew is a genius.
Woo!
His brain is on the same level as Ultron's.
But now
Let
I
it be
can't
known that I
access
am
my
now-
premium profile. I don't have an option for my premium.
At the bottom. The drop
Whoa,
down
that's a
menu.
new UI. Okay, wait. Hey, you want to see something that's messed up since we're just here?
Am I government certified security now? That I helped you?
Even though I meet
works?
all qualifying whatever, this is what I am taunted with every time.
Oh, yeah.
You have no payout history.
Randy,
this
don't
month.
worry. My last
Ever.
paycheck from Twitter was like $20.
My
Yikes.
last paycheck was I paid them $8 more this week.
Your paycheck was negative $8.
I owe them money.
Yeah, literally. Huh.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
thank you,
not
Drew.
liking this new digital future with social media where you have to pay to still get ads.
Oh my god.
I don't think it'll last. I don't
You
think
don't think
that's
so?
gonna work.
You don't think it's going to become the new norm where every single social media is going to monetize their platform and everything?
Well, they'll monetize it, but just through ads. I think free with ads is far more likely to succeed than everybody pay. I don't think that's gonna work. If you start requiring people to pay, they'll probably just leave. I mean,
I'm trying
there's far
to.
more people that.
And they
Randy
said
wants
no.
to leave.
Well, you're halfway there already.
I do like this whole new whatever, and I'm like, all right, let's get
Change the app
digital
icon.
with it. Yeah, but I gotta be honest though, being off of Twitter this week, it felt kind of good. If it felt because I was forced, I was like, wow, I need to get rid of my phone somehow. Like I have a problem, and I don't want to have a
Turn
problem.
off promotion.
I don't care about
That
promotions.
fixes it.
Turn off social media. I am just glad that we talked about our purchases this week because I have genuinely have been out of the loop of tech and EV this week. I have no idea what's
Don't
been
worry
going
about
on. Okay. What a time to get locked out then.
Well, to kind of close it out with basically no purchases or not keeping up with things, I'll finally tell the story that I've been teasing for weeks on end now.
Please.
How dare you.
Thank you. I want to know more about this.
I got to see the Sphere in person, which I kind of, I guess, alluded to when I said that I got to see the two blue iPhones in Vegas. I got to see the Sphere, which is pretty
That's
awesome.
amazing.
It doesn't look
I
like
love
what
the
it looks
Sphere.
like in videos. You assume when you
No?
walk up to it that it looks like this giant digital globe. No, it actually looks a little bit more scaffolding-like, especially when the sun's beating on it and you're closer to it. But very beautiful architecture that is very, very Vegas. I'm actually quite surprised after seeing it why Vegas hasn't done it until now, or at least someone hasn't done this in Vegas until now.
Yeah.
It is very much Vegas with the advertisements on it all the time. And then occasionally some cool, like, I guess what they were doing for a bit when I was walking around is they had like a marble live wallpaper or whatever, where like basically looked like a marble ball that you'd see on the ground or a kid playing with, but like it was animated per se. So like the color ribbons were animating around, and then after about 5 minutes or so, it'd cut to an ad being like, I guess the one that I saw when I was driving up to it in an Uber was Spider-Man. I'm like, oh, cool. But it got obscured by some trees and some other cars, so I didn't get to see too much of that. And I think also the night before, Microsoft was touting that they were advertising on it with the Xbox logo, and then after that with showing the Series X and all that. I didn't get to see much of that per se, but I got to see a bit of the Spider-Man advertisement, and then one about like a fighting game, I think, which was something that you would have enjoyed, Drew, a lot, because it's basically a dude without a shirt and some boxing shorts on punching at the camera as it's slowly rotating him around, and then like another guy punching. It's just like this big banner ad, or I guess spherical ad, of a dude without a shirt just kind of punching at you, slowly rotating around. And it was the most hilarious thing I've probably seen in a very long time.
Wow.
Along with that,
that's genius.
What surprised me is like I didn't know what to expect walking up to it. I was just thinking it's going to be some type of LCD screen. Not too sure how they're going to pull it off. And after looking at it up close, when you walk up to it, it's not even squares. It's little circular LED lights. And what they do is, because they've got just an uncountable amount, though probably countable, array of LED circles that they basically just feed what color pixel they want at that specific position on the globe or sphere. And so that's how you can get just all these different beautiful ads on it in whatever format you want. Is they just choose what color or pixel to feed to that little LED circle or light. And then from, I guess, a further view from it, you actually get the cool ad. So that's why everything looks amazing when it's far away. Like when people are golfing at the nearby golf course, it looks beautiful and kind of crazy with like the big emoji staring at people hit their golf balls. Or just anything else. It looks striking and beautiful from afar, but then when you get close, you actually get to see that nitty gritty, in which I guess was a big surprise to me and actually made me appreciate it even more over the fact that, like, wow, at the end of the day, it's just tiny little light bulbs changing their color to whatever they want it to be in order to get whatever image in total it is. They can get as creative with it as they want. I really want to know, honestly, after seeing it for the first time in person, if I go back, because I didn't get to go inside because you had to pay to get inside and like do the inside experience. Yeah, well, like the Uber driver was telling us, like, oh yeah, it's like only $40 or $60. That's what I heard on like the radio. And I immediately looked it up because I'm like, oh, let's just see if we can get in. It's like, yeah, well, then I looked it up and it's like $169 per person. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing the inside thing. We're just gonna walk around the outside and then walk to the strip, which wasn't too far of a walk. But I would like to know. Is that your first
time in Vegas?
No, I've been to Vegas, I think 3 or 4 times before. So it wasn't like, wow, Vegas lights out, like the whole Panic at the Disco song and everything run through your head.
I was so bored.
Yeah, well, I knew what to I knew what to expect going into Vegas, but this was a nice greeting going into the strip. Is like, oh wow, this is a nice, beautiful construction. They're knocking down or building up something else right next to it, which will be interesting to see how that formulates the strip. I guess it's not like a skyline anymore. Now it's the strip line. Anyways, long story short, I guess what I wanted to
call them
get
strippers.
at is like, okay, well, what I wanted to get at is that derailing me.
Sorry.
How they set up the ads, because it seems like you have to come up with some type of format in regards to how to show off your ad, because I'm sure they've got some simulations, some like 3D, like maybe it's in Unity, maybe not anymore because of what Unity's doing with their licensing and everything else, but some type of software where you're able to kind of simulate and show what the ad's going to look like, and then talk with the customer who wants to put their ad on there, how they want to structure it and make it look a certain way. Kind of like how I think Marvel's done with their the Marvels movie, where they've got like the Flurkin cat with the tentacles and all that. That very creative with how they advertised it. And it's a nice sandbox for like how creative can you get with an ad, and how I guess how eye-catching it can be without being too grotesque to just everyone else in Vegas looking at this thing.
There's way more space between the individual pixels than I thought there was. I've never seen it close up like that. So it makes me think, like, does the image kind of fall apart and not work when you're right next to it? Like it doesn't.
Yeah, when you're
like
right
anything?
under it, it's very much like, oh, these are just LEDs. If you step back probably like 25 or 30 feet, you start seeing the image a little bit more clear. And then when you get probably like 50 yards out, it becomes a lot more sphere, basically what you've kind of assumed it looks like. And then when you get about a football field away, it's like, okay, this is very much a globe, or a seamless looking globe or sphere or hemisphere of
That's cool.
whatever pretty lights they want to put on it. It was really cool. I definitely recommend anyone who is into just architecture or being entertained in general, just going to the outside of this thing was a trip.
I hope MKBHD gets to make I want to see a behind the scene. I've watched some documentaries on it, but I haven't seen like the control room where they load up all the imagery. That I heard they're recording specialized content because it's not just a big screen on the outside, it's also a big screen on the inside, which is
Right.
It's like 4 or 6 times larger than an IMAX. It's like 16K resolution or something, and I've seen some concerts they had in there, and how immersive they are just to have this giant display kind of wrap around you and everything. I was like, that is cool. So I don't know when.
I think my only worry about watching the inside entertainment is being disoriented, because it seems like most surfaces have something moving or going on, and I'd probably just close my eyes and hope that it's over soon, because with some things I can get that motion sickness just by the simulated feeling of things swooshing and moving around you, but you're staying static, so your whole equilibrium and vestibular system, I believe, just goes out of whack and doesn't know how to process the information.
That's impressive. I feel like the circle is complete. You know, we had the pyramids, and then we had traditional buildings, which are like prisms,
Big squares,
rectangular squares, and now we've got the sphere. We've covered all the shapes.
We need a Mobius strip and a Klein bottle next.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe. Somebody said, I don't remember who. But anyway, somebody said that Vegas is our modern day Rome. It will be looked at in the future how we look at Rome now. And I can't stop thinking about that now. And
it's your Roman Empire.
Man, I keep thinking about the Roman Empire. But no, it's
They're just always on your mind.
Well, it's always on your mind. It's weird. Do you think the Romans ever...
What, it's like the epitome of
No,
civilization?
I know where you're
the
going
sphere.
with that.
Yeah, I'm stopping.
Well, thank you for sharing. Those are really cool pictures.
Do I press play on
I
the
had
video
to add
now?
something this week. I didn't buy anything. No, that's for the other podcast.
Oh, gotcha.
Mike bought the sphere.
Yes, I bought this for you. Please no. That'd be way too expensive.
I think it's the largest spherical building ever made, I believe, is what I heard.
You think so?
If only there was like a type of sphere that would be so big that like you can like live in it or on it. And it's like so big that it can like house maybe like all these different species. I would say probably even like full spectrum here. I'd say everything that maybe it could even provide oxygen, and that could maybe be so. Yeah, like it could do something where it's like it be in orbit, and I like. I don't know why I'm drawn to this name, but I feel like we could call it something like Earth.
No,
where do you get these ideas?
I'd rather we just get a Cryptum from Halo. Or a Dyson Sphere.
I hope that one day the Sphere plays that little bubble show that Palpatine and Anakin are watching. And
I thought that's what it was. I seriously thought that's it. Oh wait, hang on.
Yeah, he's got the.
Let me do it this way. Have I ever told you of Darth Plagueis the Wise? I figured
Is it
not.
possible to learn how to color grade log footage?
Not from an android.
Well done.
Every single android is now an enemy of the Apple ecosystem. Good.
Thank goodness we don't have an Android on the podcast anymore.
Henceforth, you shall.
Oh no!
The androids are taking over.
Well, we've been wrapping this up for about 45 minutes.
About an hour now, I'd say.
Yeah.
Everything is going exactly as I predicted. All right, let's wrap this up for real this time. Sorry, Riley.
All right. Any last thoughts? Yeah, sorry, Riley.
Please don't ask that question, Drew. We'll be here for another hour.
Okay.
Have I ever told you guys about why doorknobs are shiny?
Pure, unadulterated.
Oh my God, you're right.
Evil.
See y'all next week. Bye.